Hello and welcome to Drive Dive. On today's episode, we're going to talk about three particular motorbikes. The first one is the Voge RR660, the other is the CFMoto 675 SR, and the other one is the Kawasaki Ninja 650. So these bikes generally have the same range. They are the midweight categories of bikes, and the midweight category kuna many other brands, but I want to focus on these three. The first one, it's the Voge RR660 and the CFMoto. Both are Chinese bikes and both came out very recently. The 2022 Kawasaki Ninja 650 is a bike that I personally am selling, so if you're interested, you can just contact me. So we're going to compare the Japanese bike and these Chinese bikes, since they are coming out with a boom. Zinakuja in the market very aggressively, and I want to talk about what they offer and what other things that you should look out for in these Chinese bikes. Sisemi mambo ya reliability, semi hizo vitu zote people know them. We're going to talk about the technology aspects, the power aspects, hizo vitu zote. So let's dive into this video review. So, starting off with the Voge RR660, this is a very powerful bike, very cool looking as well. Starting off with I'm on the page right now for the Vogue website, and from the looks of it, it looks quite nice. The paintwork on it, ikai ile metallic venye nilikuwa na expect ikae. For the Kawasaki Ninja 650, it has a very nice paint job actually. Very cool paint job. Inakaa metallic, ina shine vizuri. This looks plasticish, looks almost similar to the Taro GPs, but only from this one photo, you need to see it in person niweze kujudge very clearly. From the website, I only see two color options, but I'm sure there are three, since I've already seen them being imported venye zinakuja. We have the dark blue, we have the red, and we have the white. I actually prefer the red and the white. They look cooler kwangu. I prefer bright colors. The dark colors, I don't prefer them, mostly riding at night. I prefer something ukimulika, it is almost reflective. So I prefer the red and the white. The red looks better kwangu. The white looks cool actually, but I prefer the red mostly. I wish ingeza could change as well with the rims, but in this particular model inaonekana inakuja tu hivyo with the dark alloys. So tuangalie the bike itself. This particular motorbike looks quite aggressive. Hadi ukiangalia the posture that you'll be sitting in, it looks quite aggressive. The posture that you will be sitting in mostly right here, you'll be leaned forward. I'm expecting someone akuwe ni kama amekalia ZX bike, but haita offer the same aggressiveness as a ZX model. Mostly utakuwa, since it's almost classified as a sport touring, utakuwa umelean slightly more, like a Daytona 660 for example. The heel positions, similarly, the knees will be slightly bent. I'm not sure about the seat height until nione moja in person. The exhaust setup looks quite nice. I think hii itakuwa easy kuweka a slip-on exhaust, which I think is quite nice. For the suspensions used from the front, we have the KYB upside down suspensions, which are quite nice to have on a bike such as this. We have also the Brembo brakes. Ini kitu nimenotice wanatumia in most Chinese bikes, CFMoto and Vogue actually. They used very quality brakes and I actually appreciate that. The tail tidy itabidi uifanye to make this rear look better. The side mirrors on this bike look similar to the CFMotos, which I'll look at them in a minute. Unfortunately, in this bike, tukitaka kuona the front look, we'll just have to come here in this image. So, in this image, what we can see is tukona very bright LEDs, tukona a very good ground clearance for the roads in Kenya, as expected for such a bike. The Ninja 650 also has similar ground clearance according to venye ninaweza judge. The tire size used on this particular bike, according to the website, are, so let's go to the vehicle parameters, are 120/70, and they are 17 inch in radius, and the rear are 180/55, and they are 17 inch in radius. So the Kawasaki Ninja 650 used the 120/60, and at the rear they used 160. Ilikuanga slightly even out. In this particular model, I think the rear itakuwa slightly elevated, giving it a more sportier feel to it, which I think it's actually quite nice as well. The weight of this particular machine, it's about 215 kgs. We have 225 kilometers per hour to be expected of its top speed, which is similar to the CBR 650R. The Ninja 650 achieves about 212 kilometers per hour, not the highest in its class in the midweight category. Actually, I think it's one of the lowest, but it's still quite nice. Quite nice. Okay, kwanza Kenyan roads, consider gear 1 na gear 2 already uko above speed limit, uko sawa sana. So the vehicle configurations, as I stated, the front suspension are upside down, the rear is single. We have the Brembo dual disc brakes, actually dual. From the side profile, who is on the dual calipers. We have the Nissin disc brakes at the rear. We also have ABS and traction control, which I think it's quite nice. Alloy wheels, full LEDs, and we have a TFT display similar to the Kawasaki Ninja 650. So at the engine parameters, we have an inline 4, 16 valve, liquid cooled, and we have a dual overhead camshaft, 660cc, 1181 compression ratio, 100 horsepower, 64 Newton meters of torque, chain drive to power the rear wheels, and we have the EFI ignition system. It is a 6-speed manual. So overall, the looks, the setup, kila kitu looks decent in my opinion. For an inline 4, I'm expecting it to be a screamer. So kama ukichange exhaust ya hii, maybe uweke your desired setup, I think it will be quite nice. So going onwards to CFMotos, right here, the 675 SRR. First of all, this is a beautiful machine. It's beautiful kabisa. It's a bike that I would personally like to ride. I would really love to track it. I would really love to experience its full power. Inakaa like an R6. Zenye, yes, not the fastest, not the flashiest, but inakaa uta feel each and every gear, and it makes you just feel exhilarated when riding it. So this particular bike has 100 horsepower. It's a 3-cylinder, and it has 70 Newton meters of torque. Top speed, it is 220 kilometers per hour. So relatively same to the Voge RR660 and the Ninja 650. They go almost similar, and it's quite beautiful. Angalia tu the DRLs, the looks of it. And the cool thing about this bike, it comes in 3 different colors. So first of all, we have my favorite, the Arrowlight Grey. Looks beautiful, and I like how when you change the color, it changes also with the wheels, which looks better in my opinion, unlike the Voge RR660. So first of all, we have the Arrowlight Grey, we have the Nebula Black, and then we have the Nebula White. I personally would like the Nebula White or the Arrowlight Grey, since I stated I love bright motorcycles. Nebula Black still looks good with those grey and dark accents and hizo blue tones kidogo from the wheels and hapa kwa the 5 fairings, but I would personally like this and this. So this particular bike, it's very hard to find currently. Watu wamezi pre-order wengi sana. I would like to pre-order this, but I want to wait to only a few years, since in Kenya we expect bike hii ukinunua, even if it's under warranty, parts availability are limited money, na the dealerships za Kenya most high chance hawataweza kufix such a bike. So I'm waiting to see how they perform in the western markets kama guinea pigs, and then once they are done with them, sisi tunakujianga vitu used, tunazi import, then we bring them to you if they perform well. So the Voge RR660 and the CFMoto 675, both are new motorbikes, and they both look spectacular. So the front suspensions used in this bike are 41mm upside down shocks. Very clean bike. I admire tu kweli. I'm admiring the CFMoto bike. The TFT display looks magnificent. The cool thing about this bike, inakuja na 2 charging ports, both a type C and a type A, and CFMoto's bikes zinakuanga na this thing like Kawasaki. Na kusijui kama nilis mention, but in the Kawasaki bike, in the TFT display, you can connect your phone to the motorbike, so you can adjust several things. CFMoto goes further, whereby you can add security features. So let's say your bike gets stolen, you can track it using the TFT setup connected to the phone, so you can find out the location that the bike is in, which I think is a very cool feature. So angalia tu, this bike looks cool. This bike looks beautiful. So let's talk about its specifications. It's a 3-cylinder, 4-stroke, liquid cooled, 675cc. It has 100 horsepower, 70 Nm of torque. It has a slipper clutch, same as in the Kawasaki Ninja 650. It's a 6-speed manual, wet and multi-plate transmission. Dimensions, to compare actually to the Vogue, which is wider. So for this one is the 220mm, 728 and 1105. For this particular model, it is 2090, 950 and 1210. So the Vogue actually seems to be bigger kidogo than the CFMoto, which is not expected. But on the Kawasaki's, unfortunately, haionyeshi. But since I've ridden this bike is quite wide. As I say, iko wider than expected. It's long basically, lakini si long sana actually. Ukiweza compare pia na the seat height, which makes it very user friendly, au feel ni kama inakuwa overpower. So there's Ninja 650 feels better. Hizi ndo sikushua zitafeel aje, but I will like to say hiyo distance ni ndogo sana kwa kitu inazuia kitu. Wheelbase 49mm, ground clearance 140mm. So ni kama ya saloon cars, what you will expect in maybe a Mercedes C200. When we go to the chassis of this particular bike, the front brakes, the twin discs, hii haina Brembo brakes unfortunately. The funny thing is, in the 450 SR we have the Brembo brakes. In this particular bike, hatuna any Brembo, anything. Hatuna any quality brakes. I think hizi ni very low quality brakes, but unaweza zi exchange kama unataka ujieke the quality you prefer. I think vitu kama hizi ndo zinafanya pia ziende lower cost of purchase, ukiweza compare na maybe the Vogue, and iko almost actually price wise similar to the CFMoto 450 SR. But hii juu ya dealership markup fees and your scarcity and demand, I think this particular motorbike will be priced higher. So similar tire size as the Voge RR660. So the Kawasaki Ninja 650 has the least size in the tire size. The ground clearance relatively the same overall. The ergonomics, the CFMoto seems to be more aggressive, followed by the RR660 and then the Kawasaki Ninja 650, whereby ukiangalia tu hii iko very well balanced. Hii iko almost a sport tourer position, similar to the Versys 650. So which of these particular bikes would I buy? I'm looking forward one day to own either the Voge RR660, mostly the CFMoto 675 SR. Nijue the difference in feel of these three bikes. So far, having ridden the Ninja 650, I like it. I like it a lot. The other thing that I like about the Ninja 650 is the availability of dealers and the availability of parts. Easy, hata nikienda tu hapa randomly tu, I search, maybe let's search Ninja 650 brake lights. Let's search something like that. Ukienda tu hapa, you can find it easily on Amazon, AliExpress. You can find it easily and in various options. But nikikuja, for example, let's see, since this is a very recent bike, the Voge RR660. Naona kenye iko hapa ya Voge RR660 mostly ni deliveries ama vitu additions unaweza jiwekea, hazina vitu yote useful. So when looking at such a bike, is the scarcity of parts basically itakuwa limit. So if you are not an experienced rider and you're looking to upgrade to a bike, always go Japanese. Kama hauna the deep pockets ya kuweza ku order parts directly from the dealer. If you're looking for parts maybe for the Japanese bikes, it's not readily available, very readily available. And if you're interested in buying this particular bike, mine comes in the grey color, which looks quite beautiful. Actually, ndio hii inakaa so beautiful, looks quite nice. So if you're interested in this particular bike, unaweza ni contact and then utaweza ride away with this beautiful machine. The brake setup in the Ninja 650 and the ABS looks and feels magnificent. It's quite stable. What I can testify on the Ninja 650 actually, it is at high speeds, maybe gear 5, 6, una accelerate heading towards the 200 km/h speed, it feels quite powerful. And kenye una notice pia ni haina vibrations. Hata ukipush aje, yes, unasikia hiyo engine iko na hiyo power vizuri. So the torquiness, you feel it, you can feel the acceleration, but hauta feel your vibration sana. Kenye najua kuhusu Vogue zenye ziko ADVs ziko Kenya, ni ukizipush sana, it reaches a point that they start vibrating. And I'm not sure if the Vogue RR660 will perform the same as well. I'm not talking about if it is reliable and all those other things, but what I know is if it is just as the spec sheet says, and it stays as a well packaged bike, it stays reliable, isikuwe na any rattles when accelerating, when pushing it. Kuna some bikes unafikanga some certain RPM inaanzanga ku lose power. So I'm hoping this bike performs as stated and it stays that way. Not sure reliability wise as well, juu hakuna long term reviews utapata online, but if the spec sheets on the Voge RR660 are a testimonial to what the company offers, other brands zitakuwa na very big competition. The CFMoto 675 SRR, personally, this is a bike that I would love to own one day or to experience it. This bike looks beautiful. Iko na liveries poa sana, the looks of it, the tech of it, and coming from the 450 SRR to this, if the 450 performed that way and it ilikaa kwa market and it dominated at up to a certain point, this particular bike coming up as the Chinese brand, uses the brand that is commonly known worldwide. So if this brand stays and is well represented by itself and it carries on with its legacy, I think it will be a giant one day in the market. The Kawasaki brand in general, it's a giant in the market, is in one of the big four in Japan. These particular bikes ni kama the Hondas, they never die. So when you get such a bike, uko sure that you're getting value for money. And the other cool thing about these bikes ni parts availability. So even if it isn't the most tech oriented hivyo of zote, iko na hiyo raw feel ya power na aggressiveness that you just appreciate it. And Kenya naweza sema tu ni it's a sport tourer, so usiconsider sport bike kabisa. Ukitaka consider sport bike, consider the ZX6R. Kitu kingine the ZX6R, nilisikia watu wengine wakisema the Voge RR660 inakompariwa na the ZX. Personally, according to the spec sheet, bado. I will highly compare it to the 650 class za motorbikes that are currently in the market. The Daytona 660, the CBR 650, the Trident 660. What else? Sasa the Kawasaki Ninja 650, the CFMoto 675. Ziko relatively the same power band. Juu hadi the CBR ilikuwa inajulikana imekaa kwa market na the most horsepower, ilikuanga ina achieve 94 horsepower and it was a 4-cylinder as well. Top speed yake, funny enough, ina beat all these bikes. So the Honda bikes, more reliable, more stable, more expensive as well, but you can achieve more power with a lesser horsepower. Not sure how, but Honda does it. So if you're interested in the 2022 Kawasaki Ninja 650, you can just contact me, and have a blessed week. So thank you for tuning in to Drive Dive.